Good morning, all, and you are in for a treat because this is not a talk from me. It is from Peter and Leigh, and I'm really excited to hear from those two guys. And Peter, you're going to go first, I guess. Let me just make a quick comment before Peter starts. There is, in my mind, nothing that shapes or explains the success of a year more than senior leadership, right? That is, it's more than what faculty do. It's more than anything else. I think it's what seniors do, whether that's as monitors or captains or club heads or the many informal ways seniors lead and set an example. And I think that really shapes everything. And I'm really so excited about the year beginning, so excited about the senior class. I just think even last week on Saturday when Frank and Drew made that announcement, there's just one more example, right, of that's leadership. Where are those guys? That was awesome. So it's just proof there's so many ways seniors set the tone and shape the success, but I would also say this, nobody more so than these two who were elected as co-head mons last year. So let's give a warm welcome to Peter and then Leigh.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about traditions and family here at Taft. I don't know about you, but the past week and a half have flown by for me. With Colors and Super Sunday and then D2I, the first couple of weeks have been filled with a vibrant energy around campus, and I cannot wait to build on that. As I scrape the last bits of paint off myself, I've been able to realize how great some of the Taft traditions are, and I'm excited to create new ones here this year. Mr. Mack talks frequently about the deep traditions at Taft. I respect and appreciate the importance of these traditions and believe that our school community is a stronger and healthier community because of these traditions. Just as a reminder, almost 127 years ago to this day, Mr. Horne Taft opened Taft with 17 students. Now, we are a community of nearly 600 students from over 40 countries. According to the history of Taft, in the early years of the school, Mr. Taft would host supper Sundays and invite students to his home for dinner. These supper Sundays paved the way to modern-day feeds, so I think we all owe Mr. Taft a thank you for that. My goal for this school year is to embrace these traditions, but also to embrace Mr. Mack's comments last week and his challenge to engage in conversation as a community. As someone who thrives on connecting with others, Mr. Mack's comments hit a chord with me. On move-in day, in between helping students move in, I went to the servery with my parents to grab a quick lunch. We sat at a table with another family, one new to Taft. I introduced myself to Wyatt Courtchain, a new sophomore from New York, not to mention a hockey goalie. I told him what a great time I had managing the hockey team last year and couldn't wait for this season. It took almost no effort at all to reach out and welcome Wyatt to Taft. A gesture to introduce yourself to someone reminds me of how simple it is to have a positive impact in our community. This idea of introducing yourself to one another relates to Frank Robertshaw and Drew Dye's wonderful introduction of the Red Sweater Club. As I listened to Frank welcome the new students to the Taft family, I realized just how much Taft acts as a family for us. Not only do we have to go to class with one another and play on the same sports teams as our friends, but we all call Taft our home. By embracing the idea that we are family, I know that this community can become stronger than it is today and than it was last year. Last year, Mr. Mack talked a lot about the round table where we come together for conversation, something Mr. Taft stressed in his founding of this school. As the image of the table formed in my mind, I recognized that everyone at the table was a part of the Taft family. Whether it's fellow students, the dining hall staff, the maintenance staff, or other teachers and faculty on campus, the table Mr. Mack speaks about is open to anyone a part of our family. If we are able to truly embrace the idea that we are part of the same family, the opportunities are boundless as to where we will go this school year. Whether it's your brother in your science class, or your sister in your I-Block class, or your mom and dad in the dorms, the family we have here is incredibly strong. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm extremely protective of my family, and I take a lot of pride in my family. Henry? Yep, that's you. Although I do not always get along with my siblings or parents, at the end of the day, I love them, and I love Taft and all my brothers and sisters here. All of you guys have an immense impact on my life, and I'm extremely grateful for the conversations I've had with you and the interactions that await. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to forget our families back home, but I'm simply asking you to create a new one here at Taft. One way we can build on this sense of family is to perform random acts of kindness throughout our community. Some ideas include introducing yourself to a new student or holding the door open for someone, maybe thanking the staff in the servery for all that they do or the maintenance staff, and potentially saying a thanks to the health center because they do so much. When I arrived at Taft a couple of years ago, I set a goal to challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone. Before Taft, I was a tennis player, and practice and tournaments occupied nearly all of my time. When I came to Taft as a repeat sophomore, I tried to go beyond tennis and step outside of my comfort zone by trying new things. I got involved in Third Soccer, the Global Leadership Institute, Gospel Choir, Community Service Board, Improv Club, while also maintaining my commitment to tennis. And by going outside of my comfort zone, I discovered a lot about myself. I met tons of new friends and have had a much richer experience at Taft. And the Taft community encouraged this exploration. Friends came to hear me sing in gospel choir, which I wouldn't recommend, but Tadnall was the one who got me involved in gospel choir, and even some of my friends joined the choir. When the community supports you, the boundaries are limitless as to where we can go. All of you possess so many unique talents that we don't know about. So try something different and encourage your friends to do the same. If we all leverage our talents to our full potential, the Taft community, our family, will be stronger than ever. A goal for this year is to not only enjoy the storied Taft traditions, but to look for opportunities to start a few new ones. Leigh and I, along with the other school moms, would love to hear your ideas for new traditions. As we continue to build on the foundation and vision Mr. Taft embarked on 127 years ago, I think we can be thankful for the foundation he laid all those years ago and for the vision he had for this wonderful school. Let's put our collective talents to work and make this a memorable year. Thank you. Go Big Red.
Whether you realize it or not, morning meeting is and will continue to be a formative time of our Taft careers. The lessons you learn, the advice you'll take, and the stories you hear in this auditorium will help shape the person that is going to walk through Centennial Arch on graduation day. Moving forward together, one step closer to the stage each year, you and that family to your left and right will become closer than ever. On move-in day, I spoke to the new students about buying in and taking everything you can away from the school. While I had intended for that to apply to joining clubs and activities on campus, it also happens right here in Bingham. This 45-minute block is sort of like having a self-improvement book just read aloud to you. So relax and take this experience to become better. Today, although I'll spare you the long list of my favorite speakers at morning meeting, I am going to talk about the things that a couple of them have taught me. The first is optimism. It was during the headmaster's convocation by Mr. McMullen only days ago that I learned this lesson. He talked about the future of the school and his bright prospects for it, and that reminded me of the wonderful positivity that we have here on campus. Last year, in Taft's intramural fall softball league, freshmen, you'll come to call this PSBL, my team, the Snakes, decided that we should make jerseys. These shirts, and I'm not kidding, were an ugly purple tie-dye color with sombrero-wearing clip art snakes on the front. Each teammate was given a nickname on the back, every single name funny, but still with a bit of truth. My shirt read, SpongeBob. Although I had protested vigorously at the time, and I still don't like the name today, my teammates were not wrong. I, like the yellow children's cartoon character, am incessantly positive and furiously optimistic. Optimistic to say that sit down is super fun. Optimistic that I'm decently prepared for my calc quiz tomorrow. And optimistic that the parachute, when I went skydiving this summer, would indeed open properly. Thank God. But beyond the glass half full superficial, I'm optimistic enough to have self-confidence in myself. I once read that when an optimist flips a coin, and they expect that it will land on heads, they faithfully expect that the coin should indeed land on heads. Perhaps that's naivete, but an optimist believes it's fate. And to put this to practice, when you all set a goal, even if out of your control, believe in yourself that you can achieve it. Recognize your own capabilities and take advantage of your own self-confidence. Perhaps you'll try out for the team, even if you haven't really been keeping to those summer workouts. Or maybe take the extra class you weren't sure Mr. Clifford could fit into your schedule. You can get it done. Believe in yourself, for you can do so much more than you're probably giving yourself credit for. And this optimism also goes beyond our own self-worth, but it affects others. When we say hello to each other in the hallway or bother to compliment someone's shoes, we are displaying that positivity, and without intention, it always affects others. If each person can bother to see a little more of the good in each other, we collectively can live in a happier and healthier campus. Be optimistic to see this community for the greatest potential it has to become, and then be optimistic that we are the ones to bring it there. So thank you, Mr. Mack, for reminding us of that valuable lesson. A different morning meeting given last year by the former head monitor, Tommy Robertshaw, was about his struggles being gay at Taft. While Tommy was focused on the issues of being comfortably gay here and in the rest of the world, what I want you all to remember, and for those of you that are new, I'll walk you through, the way Tommy conveyed his message. He reminded students who felt like outsiders that they are not alone, because there are people here, right in this community, that are looking out for them. And Tommy was not wrong in saying that Taft is an incredibly caring and compassionate community. See, Taft, like Peter and our Red Sweater Club had already said, is a family. Whether you're sitting in the back of the balcony right now and you only know the name of your roommate and the kid to your left and right, I promise you'll understand my point soon enough. Many of you probably wouldn't guess that when I came to Taft as a new sophomore, I didn't like it. I looked for every flaw in the place, and I kept kicking myself for leaving my close friends back home. Sitting in the crowd at my first Taft volleyball game, while other students cheered and shouted, I couldn't help but think that these are not my school cheers. This is not my school color, and that hurts, trust me. But I know the feeling. In fact, I bet you that every one of these seniors in these front rows can relate as well. So just give it time. Taft is a family. Someone will have your back. There are people looking out for you, whether you know it or not. Your advisors, your teachers, your coaches, your dorm mons, your class committees, and your school mons all care about every single one of you, and eventually you'll learn to love this place just as much as them. And when you reach that point, because that day will come, you have something to do. You will need to pay it forward. Kindness goes a long way and is what makes Taft such a special place. We don't bully underclassmen or shove freshmen into the lockers that we don't even have. We don't tease students in lower level classes or less competitive sports teams. That is not what Taft is about. We aren't going to restrict Prentice to juniors and seniors through scare tactics or intimidation, and we won't dissuade girls from sitting on the boys' side and vice versa. We're better than that, we're nicer than that. So as Tommy taught me, be compassionate for your fellow peers. The final morning meeting I'd like to share was 2 years ago, when I still sat in the second row of the balcony up there. It was then that a man named Chris Horne spoke about what he learned in overcoming a fierce addiction to narcotics. He impressed the importance of strength and determination, so whether about addiction or not, grit is what I learned from Mr. Horne. With 2 weeks into the school year, I'm sure that many of you are beginning to feel the academic pressure that Taft can inflict. You may already be piling up with homework and are probably counting down until Free Monday, just as the rest of us are. Or perhaps it's your sport or in the theater where you're becoming overwhelmed. But grit, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is, quote, courage and resolve, strength of character. So take the heat. Welcome to Taft. For all of you fall athletes in the audience, I'm sure you can understand too well the grueling effort it takes to get through preseason. For those of you who went the intro tennis route this year, I don't blame you, because what do you think I do in the spring? But still, I'll explain what preseason is like. This year, it was 6 days long, but I could have sworn it was 10. The girls' soccer team meets every morning at 6:30 to go on our morning run, and from there, we still have 2 more training sessions throughout the day. By the 4th day, your body hurts, you haven't slept nearly enough, and suddenly, complaining becomes an easy second nature. So what do? You show up at practice, 6:30 a.m., and you're one day stronger for it. So not just to soccer, but to the football, the volleyball, the field hockey, and the cross-country teams that were there, that took grit. And everyone can have grit, because the thing that is unique about this characteristic is that you don't have to be the best or the brightest. You just have to work. And maybe that means you don't get to watch another episode of Narcos Season 3, But when you get a better grade on your math test because you studied those extra 30 minutes, you'll be happier for it. One reason that I loved having Miss Kennerson as my math teacher was not because she dress codes any skirt that is too short. Not that that ever happened to me. Or that she will give grades when you're 20 seconds late to class. Also didn't happen to me. But she is a great teacher because she has principles. Miss Kennerson expects homework done every day. She gives us organized notes on every subject, and she always has graded homework handed back quickly. It is that work ethic and those principles that might explain why I kept getting those 20 seconds late to class grades, but those qualities also motivated me to work harder and do better. Grit is contagious, and we as a community can obtain it if everyone is willing to do their best and try their hardest. So thank you, Mr. Heron, for showing us this valuable lesson. So when you come back to your seat next Thursday, still thinking about the physics test next period, I urge you to ignore what's on your mind and just listen. There's so much more to gain from these meetings than my examples of optimism, compassion, and grit. I'm so excited to see what each Tuesday and Thursday have in store for us this year, and I hope you all are as well. Let's have a great year. Thank you.